Om Namah Pranavartaye, Shuddha Jnanaika Murtaye, Nirmalaya Prashantaye, Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Arunagiri Mupetam, Sachidananda Murtim, Ramana Yithi Prithivyam Vishrutam Jnana Suryam, Gahana Hridaya Vidyam, Nilaya Bodhayantam, Satata Mahamameyam, Sadgurum Samsmarami. My pranams. In our study of Devi Kalottaram, we saw last time the verse 70, where Ishvara says that the most important dharma for any jnana abhyasi is ahimsa. So he mentions, Bhuta pidam na kurvita, don't harm any living creature, including the plants. Pushpanam cha nikrintanam, even to pluck out the flowers is not recommended, he says. And then he continues in the next verse, Swayam patita pushpaistu kartavyam shiva pujanam marana uchchatanadi vidvesham stambane tata. So he gives a relaxation in the next verse, and he says that if some flowers have fallen on their own on the ground from the trees, from the bushes, those things can be used for Shiva Pujanam, because people who are used to doing this puja, they don't have to really feel sorry about this. They can take those flowers that are fallen on the ground and use them for the Shiva Pujanam. Bhagavan says, Suyamahave udirnda tu malarhal konde Sayakkadavan pujai Sivanukku Yetriyudum Maranam Uchchadanam Mun Matra Vidveshanamum Perutra Stambanamum Pin. Actually, this verse is attached to the next verse, 72, but I will first go through this verse and then we will pick up the next verse. The operative phrase comes in the second verse, where he says, Na kuryat kshudra karmani kashta pashana pujanam. Anyway, this, after saying that you can make use of the flowers that are fallen on the ground, Shiva says, Marana, Uchchatana, Vidvesha, Stambane tata. These are all activities that an evil-minded person uses. He may get these powers. And in fact, many of the mantras that are available in the Atharvana Vedam, where there is a control over evil spirits, and then there may be a temptation to use these powers that has accrued to one person, to a person, of, making others suffer. So he is mentioning all these, a big list he is giving here. Marana is the method by which one causes destruction to somebody else or to some community or so on. Marana also means it's bringing on death. We can see this happening in Darukavanam, where the rishis, the learned rishis, they were so upset with Shiva's visit that they use Abhicharika Homam, and then they create all kinds of animals and evil spirits, and then direct them towards Shiva with the intention of killing him. So that is mentioned here as Marana. Uchchatana is a method by which mantras are uttered in a continuous manner to drive out people from their respective places. They are living in a house, and if you want to possess that house, you use this method of driving them out by doing all kinds of evil things. Many inauspicious things will start happening in the house and so on. These things are being used even today. Sorry to say this. And, in Atharvana Vedam, as I said, there are a number of mantrams. Previously, maybe people felt helpless when something is, they feel helpless to fight against some force. They used all these things, but it can be also used in a very evil-minded manner, spirit. Vidveshana is causing enmity between two good friends, between husband and wife, all these things. They can, cause enmity by making use of the Kshudra karmas. Kshudra is a cruel, a vile karma that is being used in order to affect all this. Stambhane. Stambhanam is another method. Bhagavan says, Perutra Stambhanamum. This is very popular, he says. Stambhanam is a method by which one can mobilize somebody else's faculties. That supposing he is a very good speaker, no, with these mantras, it is possible to freeze his speech. He will not be able to really make use of his voice or, even to think properly. So these are all warfare on the physique of the person, the body of the person, the mind of the person, and even to, come in the way of his spiritual progress. All these things can be used. And Ishvara says, don't ever go near them. Don't ever use them. This will be the most vile thing to do. And the person who is in this stage should never, stoop down to the level of using this. There's a very interesting talk where Bhagavan refers to this and the next verse in one of his talks. I will just read out the talk. It is talk number 517, and then, the talk begins in this manner. There was some reference to 2 shlokas in Yoga Vasishta where spiritism in Mlecha Desha is the Western and other countries, not the Indian continent, subcontinent, but the other desas, that is known as the Mlecha Desha, is mentioned. Mr. McIver is a good friend of Arthur Osborne and a Western devotee. Mr. McIver said that black magic is more prevalent in the West than is ordinarily known to the observer. He then remembered how Mr. Paul Brenton had once said that he actually feared a woman for her association with black magic. At that point in time, Shri Bhagavan asked if McIver had read Devi Kalottaram. He then said that Abhichara Prayoga, the black magic, is condemned there. He also added that by such practices, one compasses one's own ruin. Avidya or ignorance itself is bad and makes one commit suicide. Why should black magic be added to that? Bhagavan is asking. Then McIver is answering, what is the remedy open to the victim of black magic? Bhakti, devotion to God, says Maharshi. So this is an interesting conversation because McIver was also associated with this black magic in a different way. I will come to that story a little later. So Bhagavan says that even great saints suffered. He says in one place, black magic is said to have been used even against the greatest saints in India since time immemorial, says Bhagavan. The tapasvis of Daruka forest used it against Shiva himself. The reference to the saints that Bhagavan made most probably is Adi Shankara. Adi Shankara himself had to suffer this. He was once a victim of this Abhicharaka Prayogam. I believe he developed unbearable pain in the stomach at one point in time because of somebody using. All this happens because of jealousy and, when somebody becomes very, very popular, these things. Bhagavan was also a sufferer in a different manner. So Adi Shankara seems to have been a victim of this. And it is said that when he was suffering like this, he had a dream where Shiva appeared and then told Adi Shankara, go to Tiruchendur and there, sing the praise of Lord Subramanya there. So he woke up from the dream and he seems to have traveled to Tiruchendur, a beautiful temple town created for Lord Subramanya. It's in the east coast of India, in Tamil Nadu coast, and a beautiful place. So there he goes and there he sings what is called as Subramanya Bhujangam, one of the most important, compositions of, hymns of Adi Shankara. And even today, when people are suffering from various ailments, it is advised that they recite Subramanya Bhujangam in order to get over this. Bhagavan's reference that bhakti is a remedy open when such things happen is very interesting to observe. In fact, in one of the verses in the Subramanya Bhujangam, he makes a reference to this in an indirect manner. He says that Adi Shankara says Vishasascha sarve bhavat patra bhutim vilokya kshanat tarakare dravante. He says, all the evil spirits, all of them run away when when they look at you, when they come near you, all of them run away. So you have the power to drive away the evil spirits. He is praising Lord Subramanya in this manner. Anyway, so Bhagavan says that even great saints of our country have suffered from this. And what is open to us when such a thing happens is bhakti, surrender, and parayanam of this nature, and so on. Anyway, coming back to this particular verse, Marana Uchatanadini Vidvesha Stambhane Tata. Stambhanam, as I said, is freezing somebody's faculty. If somebody is a very good singer, his capability to sing will be frozen. Somebody is a good speaker, his speeches will be frozen, and he is immobilized and he will not be able to carry out his normal function. And the next verse, he continues in the same manner. Jvara, Bhuta, Graha, Avesha, Vasya, Akarshana, Mohanam. All these things are methods that are used with the help of evil spirits. Bhuta, activating various animals and evil spirits against somebody. Jvara, causing jvara or fever by constantly chanting some mantras. Some evil mantras are there. So constantly chanting them, it is possible to create, illness in somebody else. And unless he stops chanting, this disease also continues, they say. And graha, in fact, one can activate the evil powers of planets also against somebody. All these mantras are available, I believe. Avesha, make a man behave as though he is possessed of some spirits. Suddenly he will jump up in shouting. He'll be in a furious mood and so on. All these things possible to cause. Psychological warfare is possible to make. Vashya. Vashya is a method of subjugating the mind of somebody. He becomes your slave like. Whatever you tell him to do, he will do that mindlessly without even bothering about the logic behind any of those activities. That is known as Vashya. Bhagavan adds actually a small adjective to this Vashyam in his translation. I will read out the main verse and then go to Bhagavan's translation. Jvara, Bhuta, Graha, Vesha, Vashya, Karshana, Mohanam, na kuryat, Chudra Karmani, Kashta Pashana Pujanam. Bhagavan says, Suram is Jvaram, Suramod, Bhutam, coal is a planet, Unnum Avesham, the same word he has used, that is creating a furious emotion in somebody. Muran Vashyam, a forcible method of attracting somebody. Akarsham, again the same thing, attraction. Mohanam is making somebody get infatuated with some object or with somebody. All these things are possible with the mantras. So he says, na kuryate chudra karmani. All these things have to be completely avoided. Kashta pashana pujanam. Kashta pashana pujanam means worshipping a small figurine, a wooden figurine or some stone-like thing. Actually, they make a figurine. When they want to really send the evil spirits, they make a small figurine with something or the other, and then they, they do avahanam of the spirit, avahanam of the person, and then, put the spirit behind him. All these things are totally to be avoided, says Ishvara. I'll just come to the story I was about to tell you about Arthur Osborne. When he was abroad, before he came to India, he was a follower of a French philosopher by name René Gounod. René Gounod was almost his philosophy was very close to Bhagavan's philosophy. That was the reason after staying with René Gounod for some time, Arthur Osborne started looking for a suitable guru, and then he found Bhagavan, and then he came to India. He came to know about Bhagavan and came to India. Along with him, there was this David McIver. Both of them were students of René Gounod. And he also came. When Arthur Osborne came, he also came. to India. And he was in the ashram. He was very devoted to Bhagavan, this David McIver. And McIver, in fact, even translated some of the works of Bhagavan from Tamil into English. So he did all that. But his main dissatisfaction was that Bhagavan did not give Diksha. He did not initiate anybody. He was not mature enough to understand, but Bhagavan was doing it all the time in his own way, in a silent manner. He was initiating, through his silence and through some words and so on and so forth, without directly announcing that he was taking on a disciple. He used to do that. So he is very, very dissatisfied that he says that I'm nobody's guru, nobody is my disciple. He is not willing to give any initiation. So he used to argue with Arthur Osborne about this, and Osborne used to tell him that, he is doing it all the time, and then just absorb his presence, sit in his silence, and then that itself will guide you. It will take you to the right path. But McIver did not pay heed to whatever Arthur Osborne said. And he went in search of a guru, and he found a Badha guru in Kerala. This Kerala guru was a great expert in attracting people and keeping them with him. And David McIver was very much, attracted to him, and then he started listening to everything that this guru, the Kerala guru, was telling him. At one point in time, that guru wanted to have more and more disciples like McIver, so that his popularity could grow. If he can have a Western disciple, nothing like it. That's the best advertisement that he could have. So he told McIver, why don't you invite your other friends also from Ramanashram to this place? So it seems David McIver started writing to Arthur Osborne, saying that, what are you getting with Bhagavan? He is not doing anything for you. He is just sitting silent. But I have found a guru here who is able to explain so many things so beautifully, and he initiates people, and he is such a lovely person, and so on and so forth. Please come here. And Arthur Osborne in the beginning said, no, I am very happy with Ramana Maharshi. I don't really need any guru. And then so he used to send replies of this nature. So whenever such letters came, he used to show it to Bhagavan, show his reply also. Bhagavan used to nod. He never used to make any comment on that. And then the replies used to go. Slowly, McIver became more and more frustrated, it seems. And so his letters started taking a turn. They became threatening letters. He started threatening Arthur Osborne. And even those letters were shown to Bhagavan. And one day, when the letter from McIver was in a really, very bad taste, it seems Arthur Osborne in Tiruvannamalai, McIver was in Kerala. He was in Tiruvannamalai in his house, this Osborne compound. He was doing some work in his small patch of garden, he was doing some gardening work. Suddenly, Osborne sensed that from the tree behind him, an animal-like creature coming down, he just sensed it. He did not look at it fully. Just sensed it behind him. A black thing, and moved on to him, caught hold of his back, and then started strangling him. Arthur Osborne, at that point in time, did not feel anything. He did not feel any fear or any such thing. But then the strangulation became so fierce, and he started having difficulties breathing. At that point in time, spontaneously from within him, this is what he says, spontaneously from within him, this Arunachala Shiva chanting started. Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva. This chanting grew in loudness. It started growing as much as this pressure was growing from behind his back, the chanting's decibel levels also grew, he says. And then, it went on, and, and he was just a witness to both these things, the chanting within and also the kind of a strangulation that was going on in his body. He was just a witness to that. When the chanting reached, its crescendo, the creature loosened its grip, got off his back, and then ran away. So Arthur Osborne was shaken by this incident. And he went to Bhagavan and told him, this is what happened to me. And it seems Bhagavan listened to the whole thing patiently and told him, this is all they can do. This is all they can do, he said. And that was the end of the story. Why I'm relating it is, this happened even to Arthur Osborne, and he was protected only by Bhagavan at that point in time. So this is, all these things are with the exercise of your practice of the mantra. Many people are in a position to do all these things, but the injunction here is, don't ever think about them, don't ever go anywhere near them, because that will be the end of you. The Guru in Kerala, what did he achieve finally? Nothing at all. So being, coming under the spell of all these kind of evil spirits will only spell your own doom and nothing else. And that's what happened. And Arthur Osborne was quite safe, and later on, and he lived to tell the story in the story reported by Ganeshan. There is a beautiful sloka in Bhagavad Gita, and this is on a chapter where the three gunas are presented by Lord Krishna, the Sattva Gunam, the Rajo Gunam, and the Tamo Gunam. And there he says, makes a beautiful observation. Yajante Sattvika Devani. People who are Sattvic mind, they worship gods, that is, divine powers. Yaksha Rakshamsi Rajasaha. Those who are of the Rajasic nature, they worship Yakshas, demigods, Rakshamsi. Yaksha, Rakshas, Rakshamsi, all these are demigods. They are not divine people, but people having some kind of powers. Rajasaha, the Rajas, all people with Rajasic Gunam, they do this because they want powers and protection and so on and so forth. Their objective is different. And Pretane Bhuta Kanamschanye Yajante Tamasa Janaha, says Lord Krishna. People of tamasic quality, they worship all these evil spirits. Pretane Bhuta Ganamscha Anye, like evil, all these evil spirits are worshipped by people with tamasic nature. And that's most probably the reason why the Guru in Kerala could not get off his tamasic nature, and then fell into that thing, and he was also guiding others in a very, very wrong way. So very, very, very strange for somebody to move away from a Guru like Bhagavan and go to somebody else. This is Pararabdham. This is why it must have happened. We have no other explanation for this. The verse number 73 is again a continuation of what you need not do at all. Ishvara says, Na mudrascha makham datva kshetrapite cha devate kritakane vasanams tyaktva vyapakam bodham ashrayet. That's an operative word here. Vyapakam bodham ashrayet. Worship only the ever present, a thing present everywhere. The pure consciousness alone should be worshipped. Bhagavan's translation. Kshetra Pidatil Killer Devadai Purutai Sertidum Ma Mudirayum Say Makamum Nith Munsay Avatrin Vadanehal Tirte Vyapakamam May Yarivu Tannaye Mevu. Word to word translation. Beautifully done in Tamil. So the import of this verse is, mudras are used, the various fingers, and then they are joined together, and various shapes of the hands are formed. These are all done while one is worshipping. The yogis who rise the Kundalini from one center to the next center, take it up Those are all known as chakras. Each one chakra is called as a Kshetrapitam in this context. A Kshetrapitam is a chakra. From the Mooladharam up to Sahasraram, 6 chakras are mentioned. And people, they keep on worshipping on each chakra level. They worship, there is a deity, and there is also a particular yantra, and there is a mantra associated with it, and also a mudra associated. These are all Tantra Yogam. They prescribe all these things, and then people go through this. This is known as the concentration on the chakras. So when they do that, they keep on changing their mudras, and when they move from one center to the next center above, they abandon the deity of the previous center, and then they start envisaging another deity. So whomsoever they worshipped all along, they abandon. They make the sin of abandoning one deity, go to the next deity, and so on. So here the instruction from Ishvara is, please don't have to get involved in any of these things. Makham means yagam. There are certain yagas also associated, some homas, yagas associated with all this, concentration on the chakras. Na mudrascha makham datva kshetrapite cha devate kritakane vasanam styaktva vyapakam bodham ashrayet. Don't have to depend upon all this chakra worship, because there will be a vasana that you would have developed. You have to relinquish those vasanas also. All these things will unnecessarily add to your burden only. Don't ever go there and then do these things. You have to get rid of all the vasanas that have been accumulated. Cling only to the self, the all-pervading real consciousness alone should be your objective, and nothing else. Bhagavan has talked about it in Day by Day with Bhagavan, Devaraja Mudaliyar. There is a conversation. Bhagavan says in one of these conversations, such concentration on chakras may lead to a sort of laya in which you will feel a certain bliss. But care must be taken not to lose the thought I am in all these things. That is what is important. I amness, that should not be lost sight of. This layam, the word layam that Bhagavan refers to, is not exactly sleep. It is not exactly a wakeful state. An in-between semi-conscious state. And it gives a lot of bliss, as Bhagavan says, it gives a lot of bliss. But this self-awareness is not there in that place. And whatever, even if you immerse in such a state, because it is very blissful for several hours together, at the end of which you will come back to the normal thing and everything is as before. So it is not the final state of samadhi, but it's an in-between state. So Bhagavan says, you should see to it that you should not lose I amness in all these things. Whatever the center or object on which you concentrate, he who concentrates is always the same. And nature of the one who concentrates must be known. That is the goal of all the sadhanas. The one who is concentrating, don't lose sight of him. He is actually the goal. Your goal is not anything else other than catching hold of that subject, the I. When you know the nature of the I, you know everything. So don't lose sight of that and get into all this chakra and so on. As I mentioned in one of the previous things, Yachamal used to have this problem, and Bhagavan used to discourage her, but she did not give up that practice of concentrating on meditating on these chakras and so on. So when she actually passed away, there was even a doubt whether, because in the previous times also, she used to be motionless for long hours, and she used to wake up and then come to life. So when she actually passed away, there was a doubt whether she was really dead or she is still living in a different kind of a state consciousness. Anyway, so finally, this is the instruction from Ishvara. He says, Kritakane vasanam styaktva vyapakam bodham ashrayet. Please go to only that all-pervading consciousness and cling to that, and then don't lose sight of that. That should be your goal. I'll take up the next verse and I will complete this session. Here, the 74th verse, again, a most important advice is given. Just as ahimsa being a great dharma, what has to be cultivated, he says, don't cultivate many of the things that was mentioned earlier, but you should cultivate this particular thing, and that is samatha. Samatva bhavam is very, very important for a jnana abhyasi. If you are able to have a neutral attitude towards all beings, that is going to help you greatly in your sadhana. So the verse here is samata vitaragatvam samatvam sukha dukkhayoho samo amitrecha mitrecha samo loshtecha kanchane. Bhagavan says samattvame utru sarvamal ஆசை சமனாய் சுக துக்க சார்வியில் சமனாகி மித்திரர்கள் அல்லாதார் மேலும் ஓட்டில் பொன்னில் ஒத்த கருத்தோனாகி உற்று. He says, the meaning of this is this: maintain a neutral attitude towards all things. Do not get infatuated with anything. Maintain equanimity, whether in happiness or in suffering. Be the same to friends and enemies. Mitropi, amitropi. Maintain the same attitude towards friends and enemies. Treat alike a broken piece of mud pot. Odu loshtam. Odu, Bhagavan says, Otil ponnil. Pon is gold. Don't make any difference between either a shard of a broken mud pot or a golden piece. You should have the same attitude towards both of them. I remember a beautiful sloka in Subhashitam. Matruvat paradaramscha paradravyani loshtavat atmavat sarvabhutani yaha pashyati saha pashyati. He who sees should see in this manner. Only he sees properly. All others are blind. How should you see? You should see all the wives of others. Paradaramscha matruvat, like your mother. Your vision should be to look on any woman as your mother. Paradravyani loshtavat. The word loshtam is used here. Loshtam is a useless piece of a broken part of a mud pot, a clay, a piece of clay. You should look at others' wealth as valueless. You should not covet them. You should look on them as they are valueless. Loshtavat. Paradravyani loshtavat. Atmavat sarvabhutamscha. Look on yourself as you would look on others, as you would look on yourself. All the others are no different from yourself. That kind of a bhavana should be there. He alone who sees in this manner sees. All others are just blind. Yaha pashyati, sayeva pashyati. That is the thing. So great saints, they never touched anything. They had absolutely no attraction to anything that can be called as wealth. And their look was always samabhavam, whatever be the thing, friend, foe, everything is the same. Lord Krishna says, samatva is yoga itself. Samatvam yoga uchyate, he says in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Siddha siddhyoho samam bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate, in the 2nd chapter. But throughout Bhagavad Gita, one would find verses extolling the virtue of samatva bhavam. In the Bhakti Yoga, in the chapter on Bhakti Yoga, he says, Tulyaha shatraucha mitrecha. Just as what here the Devi Kalottaram verse says, shatraucha, your enemy, your mitra, your friend. Both of them are the same for you. That should be your view. Tulyaha shatraucha mitraucha tata mana apamanayoho. Mana apamana, esteem and lack of esteem. All these things should be viewed on in a balanced manner. Sitoshna sukha dukkeshu, cold, hot, something to concern with the body's, sensory systems. You have the same bhavam towards them. Samaha Sangha Vivarjita. Sangam is attachment. Without any attachment, look on everything in a samatva bhavam. Samadukka dukas swastaha. Sama Loshta Kanchanaha. Again, the word Loshta comes here in the Bhagavad Gita verse. Sama Loshta Ashma Kanchanaha. Sama Dukka Sukha Swastaha. Swastaha means remain in the self. Swastaha. Remain in the self and look on both Dukkha and Sukha in the same manner. Sama Loshta Ashma Kanchanaha. He adds Ashma. Ashma is a stone. You will look on a useless piece of mud and a stone equally as a gold, as a piece of gold. Gold is not going to be any different for you in your vision. Tulya Priya Priyo. Priya Apriya. Somebody who is close to you, somebody is not so close to me. This kind of feelings one should not have. Dhiraha Tulya Nindatma Samstitihi. And this Dhira, whether somebody praises him or when somebody blames him, he looks on the same attitude. He looks on both. This is what Bhagavad Gita says. In fact, even in Ramana Gita, in the very first chapter, there is an interesting question raised by Kavya Kanta. He says, Jnaninam kena lingena jnatum shakshanti kovidaha. How will be able to identify a jnani? Kena lingena, by what sign can we know a jnani? Yes. So, Bhagavan says, Sarvabhuta Samatvena Lingena Jnanam Muhyatam. Sarvabhuta Samatvam. In his presence, there will be absolutely no discrimination at all. Everybody is treated, everything is treated equally. When you see somebody in whose presence all the bhutas, all the the living beings, they're all one, treated alike, then you can take it that he has jnanam. Jnaninam kena lingena jnatum shakshanti kovitaha sarvabhuta samatvena lingena jnanam muhyatam is the reply given by samatvam. I believe in the Saint Upper's life. Upper is one of the 4 great Saivite saints and very, very old person. And I believe wherever he went, whichever temple he went, he would do all menial jobs, like, sweeping the floor and then, throwing away the stones and removing the plants. You always used to have, a gardening instrument, something which is called as a hoe, a long handle and a small blade to remove all the unwanted plants growing in the walls of the temple and so on. He would do that for all the temples. It seems Lord Shiva wanted the world to know this great man looks so simple, his detachment and absolutely no attachment to anything that can be called as wealthy or as Muslim. It seems when he was doing something, he used to throw diamonds and all precious gems, Lord Shiva, in the path. And I believe he will sweep it. Upper used to sweep them all out of his path and then throw them in the garbage. He did not have any kind of an attraction to any of them. This is known as Udavarappani. The Upper used to do that. This kind of service to all the temples. So our temples today also need such Udavarappani. Somebody should take it up and do it. They are all in such great disuse. So this verse, the import of this verse is that Samo amitrecha mitrecha samo lohtecha kanchane. One should have an equal vision towards everything. And this samatva bhavam is one of the most important characteristics that a jnanabhyasi should develop. That is the import of this verse. So with this, I will complete my lecture today. Thank you.